Real attractiveness comes from energy, not appearance, because what people truly respond to is not the shape of your face, the cut of your clothes, or the number of likes on your photos. It's the invisible force you carry with you everywhere you go. Appearance may catch someone's eye for a moment, but energy is what makes them stay, what makes them remember you, and what makes them respect you. Energy is confidence, presence, and authenticity combined. It's how you carry yourself when no one is watching, how you speak when you have nothing to gain, and how you treat people who can do nothing for you. That is what lingers far longer than any surface-level attraction. Think about it. There are people who may not fit the traditional definition of beauty, yet they command attention everywhere they go. They walk into a room and heads turn, not because of perfect features, but because of the undeniable energy they radiate. They stand tall, they move with purpose, and they project certainty. Their energy says, "I know who I am, and I don't need your validation." That confidence is magnetic because people crave it, and most don't have it. People are drawn to those who radiate strength, assurance, and authenticity, because being around that kind of energy makes them feel elevated too. On the other hand, someone can look flawless by society's standards, but still feel invisible if their energy is insecure, desperate, or unsure. Desperation leaks through body language, tone of voice, and even silence. You can sense when someone is trying too hard to be liked, when they're tailoring themselves to fit in, when they're seeking constant approval. That energy repels because people instinctively move away from neediness. They may notice the appearance, but they don't feel compelled to stay, because energy always speaks louder than what's on the surface. Energy also reveals authenticity. People are not attracted to perfection. They are attracted to realness. When your energy communicates honesty, when you are comfortable with your flaws and open about your truth, you become relatable and approachable. People trust authenticity because it is rare in a world full of masks. The most attractive individuals are not those who try to be everything for everyone, but those who are unapologetically themselves. That raw energy makes others feel safe to be themselves too, and that is far more powerful than any surface charm. Your energy comes from the way you invest in yourself. If you build discipline, confidence, and self-respect, your energy naturally radiates strength. If you cultivate kindness, empathy, and emotional intelligence, your energy becomes warm and magnetic. This is why focusing on appearance alone will never make you truly attractive. Appearance fades, trends change, and external beauty can be overshadowed in an instant, but the energy you carry, your presence, your confidence, your authenticity, cannot be taken away from you. It is yours, and it is the most enduring form of attractiveness. Every interaction you have is an exchange of energy. When you enter a conversation, people don't just hear your words, they feel your tone, your conviction, your presence. When you walk into a room, people don't just see you, they sense your confidence, your openness, or your insecurity. That is why the most magnetic people are not always the best looking, but the ones who have mastered their energy. They project strength without arrogance, confidence without desperation, and authenticity without fear. That balance makes them unforgettable, because long after people forget what they wore or how they looked, they remember how those individuals made them feel self-respect, and boundaries are magnetic, because when you carry yourself with a sense of value and refuse to tolerate what diminishes you, people feel it instantly. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to demand it. Your presence communicates it without a word. Self-respect shows in the way you walk, in the way you speak, in the way you allow or refuse treatment from others. It tells the world, "I know my worth, and I will not settle for less." That certainty makes people stop, pay attention, and adjust their behavior around you, because deep down, everyone respects those who respect themselves. When you respect yourself, you no longer chase approval. You don't beg for validation. You don't compromise your values just to be accepted. And you don't lower your standards to keep people in your life. Instead, you set the bar high, not out of arrogance, but because you know what you bring to the table, and the people who truly value you will rise to meet those standards. Those who cannot, those who want to exploit or diminish you, will drift away. And that's exactly what should happen. Boundaries act like a filter, separating those who deserve your time from those who don't. Boundaries are not about being cold or closed off. They are about protecting your peace, your energy, and your integrity. When you set boundaries, you're saying, "This is how I expect to be treated, and I won't accept anything less." And that firmness is attractive because it communicates strength. People may not always like your boundaries, but they will respect them, and that respect draws the right kind of people closer. Without boundaries, you become easy to use, easy to manipulate, and easy to discard. With boundaries, you become someone others must approach with intention, care, and respect. Self-respect also changes the way you interact in relationships. When you have it, you don't stay where you're disrespected. You don't cling to people who give you the bare minimum. You don't allow yourself to be treated as an option. You walk away when necessary, and that act alone commands attention. People notice when you refuse to compromise your dignity. They might test your limits, but when they see you won't bend, they recognize your strength. That recognition, whether they admit it or not, is deeply attractive. The truth is, people mirror how you treat yourself. If you treat yourself poorly, others will too. If you constantly doubt yourself, allow disrespect, or accept less than you deserve, you send a signal that it's okay for others to do the same. But if you carry yourself with self-respect, if you set firm boundaries, people have no choice but to adjust to the standard you've created. And that's where attraction begins. It's not about forcing people to see your worth. It's about showing them you already know it, with or without their approval. What makes self-respect magnetic is that it creates a sense of mystery and strength. People wonder why you don't tolerate what everyone else does. They wonder why you don't beg for attention or settle for crumbs. That curiosity makes you stand out, because most people are too afraid to enforce their boundaries. When they see someone who does, it challenges them, it inspires them, and it makes them want to be closer to that strength. Attraction is not about bending yourself to be liked. It's about holding firm to your worth so strongly that others can't help but notice. Discipline and consistency create lasting appeal. Because while charm and surface level attraction may draw attention for a moment, it is the stability of character and the ability to show up consistently that keep people interested and invested. Anyone can impress in the short term with words, gestures, or appearances, but discipline is what proves endurance. People are drawn to those who demonstrate control over themselves, who live with purpose, and who can be relied upon when it matters most. There is something magnetic about someone who is not easily swayed, who does not crumble under pressure, and who lives by their principles even when it's difficult. Discipline is attractive because it shows self-mastery. It reveals that you are not ruled by impulse, laziness, or weakness, but that you have the strength to choose what serves you over what tempts you. People notice when you take care of your body, when you focus on your goals, when you refuse to indulge in every distraction that comes your way. It shows that you have direction, that you respect yourself enough to do the hard things, and that you are capable of building something greater than fleeting comfort. That kind of commitment makes you stand out in a world where so many give in to excuses. Consistency adds another layer to this. It's not enough to act disciplined for a day, a week, or even a month. The real attraction comes when you demonstrate the ability to maintain it over time. Consistency signals reliability. People trust those who show up again and again, not just when it's convenient or when they feel like it. When you are consistent, others know what to expect from you, and that predictability builds respect. Respect, in turn, fuels attraction, because people are naturally drawn to those they can depend on. Discipline and consistency also communicate that you value growth. Instead of waiting for things to happen, you take deliberate steps every day toward progress. You don't just talk about goals, you follow through. You don't just dream, you execute. And that execution is what separates those who inspire from those who fade into the background. People are inspired by someone who not only sets high standards for themselves, but also keeps meeting them. That inspiration creates an energy that pulls others closer, because deep down, everyone wants to be around those who elevate them rather than drag them down. This kind of appeal is lasting because it doesn't depend on external factors like looks, status, or charm. Those things can fade or change, but discipline and consistency are character traits that endure. They create a sense of stability in an unstable world, and that stability is rare. People crave it, even if they don't always realize it. They are drawn to those who embody it, because being around disciplined, consistent individuals makes them feel safe, motivated, and inspired to raise their own standards. What many fail to understand is that discipline and consistency are not restrictive. They are liberating. They free you from chaos, from instability, and from being controlled by outside forces. When you live with discipline, you are in charge of yourself. When you are consistent, you are in control of your path. That control radiates strength, and strength is universally attractive. It doesn't need to be announced, it doesn't need to be shown off. It is felt in the way you live, in the results you create, and in the confidence you carry without even saying a word. Desperation repels. Independence draws people in, because there is nothing more unattractive than someone who clings, begs, or constantly seeks validation from others to feel whole. Desperation carries an energy that pushes people away. It communicates lack, insecurity, and neediness. When someone is desperate, it feels heavy, suffocating, and draining to be around them, because they're not offering strength or value. They're pulling and grasping, hoping someone else will fill the void they refuse to fill themselves. Independence, on the other hand, carries an entirely different energy. It shows self-sufficiency, strength, and the ability to stand on your own without needing to be rescued. People are naturally drawn to that, because independence signals freedom, stability, and confidence. When you are desperate, you give away your power. You show that your sense of worth depends on someone else's attention, approval, or presence. You accept treatment you don't deserve. You chase relationships that are one-sided. You cling to opportunities that don't fit you, all because you fear being without them. This lack of self-assurance creates imbalance, because people instinctively respect those who value themselves, and they lose respect for those who beg to be valued. Independence reverses that dynamic. When you show that you don't need anyone to validate your existence, when you live with purpose and confidence regardless of who stays or goes, you become magnetic. People respect what doesn't beg for attention, but commands it through presence. Independence is not about isolation, it's about wholeness. It means you are complete with or without others, and that completeness makes your connections more authentic. You are not with people because you need them to fill an emptiness. You are with them because you choose to be, because their presence enhances your life, not defines it. That distinction makes all the difference. When you enter relationships, friendships, or even professional dynamics from a place of independence, people feel lighter around you. They don't feel the pressure of having to constantly reassure, validate, or carry you, because you've already done that work for yourself. That lightness is deeply attractive. Desperation also creates a chasing energy, and chasing always devalues the one who does it. The more you chase, the more the other person pulls away, because they sense your lack of control. But independence flips the script. When you are independent, you don't need to chase. You don't cling, you don't beg, you don't lose yourself trying to prove your worth. Instead, you stand firm in who you are, and in that steadiness, you draw people toward you. Independence creates gravity. It pulls without effort, because people are intrigued by someone who doesn't need them yet still chooses them. Think about the people who inspire admiration: leaders, creators, individuals who walk their own path. What they all have in common is independence. They don't live for the approval of the crowd. They don't bend themselves to please everyone. They know who they are, they know what they want, and they stand by it without apology. That certainty commands respect, and respect always precedes attraction. You cannot separate the two. Independence is the foundation of both, and when you master it, you don't have to try to be attractive. It happens naturally, because people are drawn to the stability, freedom, and confidence that independence radiates. True attraction is built on confidence, not validation, because confidence is an internal state while validation is external, fleeting, and unreliable. Confidence is about knowing who you are, accepting your strengths, and embracing your flaws without letting them define your worth. Validation, on the other hand, is the act of constantly seeking approval, praise, or acceptance from others in order to feel good about yourself. The problem with living off validation is that it puts your self-worth in someone else's hands. You rise and fall based on how others respond to you, which means you never truly own your identity or your value. Confidence breaks that cycle because it anchors your sense of self from within, not from outside voices. Confidence is attractive because it demonstrates security. It shows that you don't need anyone to tell you who you are, and that certainty has power. When you walk into a room confidently, you don't have to speak loudly, you don't have to demand attention. People notice because confidence is felt. It's in your posture, your tone, your eye contact, the calmness in your presence. It makes people feel at ease because they can sense that you are comfortable with yourself. That comfort is rare in a world where so many hide behind masks, filters, and endless attempts to be liked. Validation, on the other hand, is unstable. The moment you depend on it, you hand control of your worth to others who may never truly see you. You let compliments define your good days and criticism define your bad ones. This makes you reactive, fragile, and easy to manipulate. People sense this fragility, and instead of being drawn to it, they feel the weight of it. Confidence, however, is steady. It doesn't crumble when criticized, and it doesn't inflate uncontrollably with praise. It remains grounded. That stability is what makes confidence so magnetic. It cannot be easily shaken. Confidence also creates freedom. When you are confident, you don't need to conform to everyone else's expectations. You don't shrink to make others comfortable, and you don't stretch yourself to fit into spaces where you don't belong. You choose authenticity over performance, and that authenticity resonates. People are naturally attracted to those who are unapologetically themselves because it inspires them to be the same. Validation-driven people may gain temporary approval, but confident people gain lasting respect. Another layer to this is that confidence fuels action. When you trust yourself, you take risks, you step forward, and you create opportunities instead of waiting for them. Confidence pushes you into growth, while the hunger for validation keeps you stuck in fear of disapproval. People admire doers more than they admire talkers, and those who take bold steps become unforgettable. Confidence allows you to lead instead of follow, to influence instead of imitate, and to shine without begging for the spotlight. Attraction rooted in validation fades quickly, because once the validation stops, the insecurity returns. But attraction rooted in confidence endures, because it is not dependent on anyone's approval. It's not about how many likes you get, how many people compliment you, or how much attention you receive. It's about the unshakable presence you carry regardless of circumstances. That presence speaks louder than words. It draws people toward you, not because you need them to affirm your worth, but because you've already affirmed it yourself. Confidence is the foundation of true, lasting attraction, and it will always outshine the shallow pull of validation. Authentic presence makes you unforgettable because it is rare in a world where so many people are trying to be someone they are not. Authenticity means you show up as yourself without the need to perform, exaggerate, or play a role just to be accepted. It is the ability to be genuine in your words, consistent in your actions, and transparent in your intentions. When people encounter authenticity, they feel it immediately because it carries a certain clarity and weight. It doesn't try too hard, it doesn't hide behind illusions, and it doesn't shift based on who is watching. It is steady, real, and honest. That kind of presence stands out because people crave truth in a world full of pretenses. Being authentic is not about sharing every detail of your life or exposing your vulnerabilities recklessly. It's about alignment. Your actions align with your words, your behavior matches your values, and your character remains intact no matter the circumstances. This alignment creates trust, and trust is one of the strongest foundations of attraction. When people trust you, they are drawn to you naturally because they feel safe in your presence. They don't have to question your motives or decode your intentions because your consistency speaks louder than anything else. Authentic presence is magnetic precisely because it eliminates doubt and uncertainty. Many people underestimate how exhausting it is to constantly pretend, to wear masks, to shift personalities based on the environment. That performance may gain temporary attention, but it drains energy and lacks sustainability. Eventually, the act slips, and when it does, people feel betrayed by the inconsistency. Authentic presence requires no such performance. You don't have to remember who you pretended to be because you are simply yourself. That kind of ease is liberating, and it draws people in because it inspires them to lower their own masks. Authenticity encourages openness. It gives silent permission for others to be real too, and that connection is unforgettable. Presence also matters because it communicates without words. How you carry yourself, the energy you bring into a room, the way you make people feel when they're around you, those things leave lasting impressions long after the conversations are over. An authentic presence is calm yet powerful, grounded yet engaging. It doesn't demand attention, but it commands it effortlessly. It doesn't need to be the loudest voice, because its consistency speaks for itself. People are attracted to what feels solid, trustworthy, and real, and authenticity embodies all of that. Another part of authentic presence is self-acceptance. When you are comfortable with yourself, you don't need to overcompensate, exaggerate, or seek approval in every interaction. That comfort radiates outward, and people notice it instantly. They feel at ease because you are at ease. They feel confident around you because your energy communicates confidence. Authenticity makes people remember you, not because you tried to impress them, but because you left them with an experience of truth, and truth always lingers longer than performance. In relationships, in leadership, in everyday encounters, authenticity creates deeper impact. People may forget what you said, they may forget what you did, but they rarely forget how you made them feel. An authentic presence makes people feel seen, heard, and respected, because it isn't about manipulating them for attention. It's about engaging them with sincerity. That sincerity is powerful because it is scarce. When most are chasing approval or trying to be liked, the one who dares to simply be real becomes unforgettable. Attraction isn't about tricks, appearances, or how loudly you can demand attention. It's about the energy you carry and the way you make people feel in your presence. When you understand that true attractiveness comes from your confidence, your boundaries, your independence, your discipline, and above all, your authenticity, you no longer chase approval, you command respect. People will be drawn to you not because you need them, but because you are already whole without them. That is the kind of magnetism that cannot be faked, because it's rooted in who you are, not in what you perform for others. The world is full of noise, of people trying to outshine one another, to stand out by being louder, flashier, or more desperate for validation. But the ones who truly stand apart, the ones who linger in people's memory, are those who are unapologetically themselves. They walk into a room with quiet confidence, with a presence that doesn't beg to be noticed, but cannot be ignored. That is what it means to be attractive. Not the surface, not the image, not the performance, but the undeniable power of being real, being grounded, and being unshakably confident in who you are.